guys, welcome back to another video. In today's very important video, we are going to be talking about how to heal from narcissistic abuse when you still have to deal with the narcissist. This is going to be a really good video for those of you out there that might have to co-parent with a narcissist, might have close or extended family members that you see on a regular basis that are narcissists, narcissistic coworkers, or a narcissistic boss. This video is going to be for you on how to learn how to handle and cope with that and heal and move on from it. Because as much as we preach that going no contact is really the best way to handle a narcissist, which I also do support that idea myself, the unfortunate truth is that this isn't a realistic idea for everyone. There are plenty of people out there, you might be one of them watching this video, that has to still deal with a narcissist. It just is not escapable. And this can be really taxing and emotionally draining because as much as you want to separate yourself from the narcissist, let's say you even went through the divorce process and you're living on your own and they're no longer in your space, but you still have to co-parent with them because you share a child together, or they're at your place of work and you have to see them on a daily basis, or they're a parent or another close family member, and you have to deal with these people. So how do we deal with these people while we work on healing ourselves, while we work on taking our power back, and how we cannot continue to enable the cycle of narcissistic abuse? So that's what I'm going to talk about right here, right now. So there's 3 different components that I'm going to discuss in this video with you guys today. And I'm going to discuss each and kind of go through, kind of an outline of what each of those look like. And then at the end of the video, I'm actually going to give you a real life example of how all 3 of these can be applied. So make sure you stay tuned until the end. Also, to date, if I had to say that there was one soul, I think all of the content that I put out there is really important when it comes to narcissism. But if there's one video that I think is probably the most important or the most impactful, it's going to be what I'm going to teach in this video. So if you like it, if you find value, please give it a thumbs up, and then please also comment below. That helps YouTube push the video out to other people that can benefit from it. So the 3 components that I'm going to talk about in this video, the first one is education. The second one, we're going to talk about behavioral changes that you can make when dealing with a narcissist. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is the emotional processing side of recovering from narcissistic abuse and getting your power back. I'm sure a lot of people have heard the phrase knowledge is power. The way that we get knowledge is through education. So really the first step is becoming very, very educated on narcissism and narcissists. And if you're looking for a good channel for that, I post tons of content on narcissism, so make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. There's also a lot of really other good YouTubers out there that provide a lot of education on narcissism. There's some really good blogs on narcissism and a lot of really good free resources out there for people to take advantage of. But really, education will help a person realize that the fault doesn't lie with them. It lies with the narcissist. Becoming really, really educated on why narcissists are the way they are, what their typical behaviors are, how they react in certain situations, what they are and are not capable of, is really your first step ahead of the game. When you learn about things like narcissistic supply, narcissistic injury, verbal abuse, control, manipulation techniques of a narcissist, you really start to learn that it isn't you causing these things, okay? It's the narcissist. It's not you deserving this. It can really help kind of temper those feelings of shame and guilt that you experience when dealing with a narcissist. You realize that it is not me, it is them. And that is really the first step of the healing process, is getting a lot of education and knowledge about narcissism. Now, a couple things. It is very important that you're careful about the type of education that you are consuming. So really consuming things from professionals, really consuming from people that really specialize in this area, really know a lot about it. Is really, really important, because one of the things, and this for me is probably one of my greatest pet peeves in this whole narcissism, mental health field, abusive relationship field, is I really highly disagree both personally and professionally on any resources that claim that you can change a narcissist. Or really any articles that say, yes, a narcissist can change, and here's how, or here's what you can do to change a narcissist, or how to be happy in your relationship with a narcissist. I don't like material like that. If you've been watching me for a while, you know my stance on narcissism change. I do not believe that narcissists can actually truly change, meaning that like deep down inside, they might be able to change temporarily. Usually they'll change their behaviors because they're afraid of losing something they want to keep. So usually that's like you or their narcissistic supply. They want to keep that supply. So they might change temporarily, but in basically every situation that I've ever been in personally, or have seen professionally, they always revert back to their old behaviors. And I have another YouTube video on narcissism change, so I'm not going to get into it too much here. But my problem with resources and YouTubers and blog posters that write or make videos about how to change a narcissist is that I really think that it's damaging to believe that you can change a narcissist. And what happens is that it causes people to get stuck in narcissistic relationships out of the belief that they can change this person. And while there might be maybe sporadically, none that I've seen, but maybe sporadically there have been a few instances of where a narcissist has been capable of true change, that is such a small minority. I mean, the probability of a narcissist changing is basically like, I mean, I'm going to say 1%. I think that's even being really generous. And people that read and digest that material, they think that they can cause this change. And all this does is really reinforce that trauma bond that's already there, keeps people stuck in these relationships, you know, out of the hope that their person is going to be able to change. And I will link my video to Narcissism Change down below if you do want to learn more about why I don't think narcissists are capable of true change. I want to provide real educational content for you guys to really learn about narcissists and also the early signs of narcissism, because it's great if we never get stuck in these situations, right? So I provide a lot of education on that and really kind of focus on you. Like, this channel is about you. It is about your process, your healing, your growth. There are not enough subscribers or views that will ever make me make a video about how to change narcissists. Like, you will never see that video on my YouTube channel or any videos similar to that. And I get that it's natural that if you're unhappy, you want to learn about ways to solve the problem, make your relationship better. And in a lot of dysfunctional relationships, this can work. Narcissists, it doesn't. All right, thank you for entertaining my side rant, but I think it was important. My main point, educate yourself as much as possible. It'll really help you view things under a different lens, you know, and it'll help you understand that, you know, you aren't the problem. It isn't you, it is them. It is another person. This is how they are. And it will help you reach a place of acceptance. I think that, you know, it's not going to feel great usually when they find out their partner is a narcissist or they have a lot of narcissistic traits, and then they, oh my gosh, they can't change and this relationship is doomed. Like, that's really hard. And I think that, you know, living in a state of denial also isn't helpful, and it's just going to keep you stuck in the situation. So really, if you have, you know, feelings or you think someone might be, you know, really educate yourself on that. All right, so the second thing is behavioral change. So this is really changing the ways that we respond to the narcissist. So kind of our part in it, because we can't control them. We can't control their outbursts. We can't control their manipulation. They can't control the verbal abuse, emotional abuse that a narcissist inflicts. Like, we don't have any control over that. What we do have control over is our responses. And a lot of the time, you know, when someone's being really nasty, mean to us, it's very natural for us to fight back against that. You know, we want to, you know, someone made us feel bad, so, you know, we're going to make them feel bad, or, you know, we get upset. And honestly, like, it's very natural for everyone to do that. Like, it's nothing to feel bad about. It's a natural response that when someone hurts us, you know, in order to make ourselves feel better, you know, we want to fight back against it, or we want to defend ourselves against the accusations too. Even defense, you know, doesn't really work against a narcissist either. They're not capable of understanding that. So, I mean, it's really natural to want to do that. And ultimately, with a narcissist, it's not helpful, because any type of emotional reaction that you give a narcissist is really going to continue to feed that supply. So I've talked before in some of my videos about how there isn't really a bad form of supply for a narcissist. Really, negative emotional energy serves just as great as positive emotional energy when it comes to narcissists. So every time that they are able to draw that out of you, you know, they're getting a need met through that. So how do we not give them that? I made a video on gray rock, and I will also link that video down below. As a reminder, gray rock is basically responding to a narcissist really non-emotionally charged responses. So really boring, flat, not interesting facial expressions. You know, if you're welling up with tears while you're, you know, trying to remain even, they're still going to get something from that. So really training yourself on how to not emotionally react to a narcissist. And a lot of the times, this gray rock technique is done in order to cut off the supply for the narcissist. So we're not giving them our emotional reactions, they're not getting supply, so they should go away, right? This can work sometimes. I know of cases where this has worked. However, there are lots of times where it doesn't work. We can be as gray rock until, you know, for the rest of eternity with them, and they will still try to be abusive. Gray rock is actually more to serve you. Okay, so it is a behavioral change that you're enacting in order to teach yourself how to respond to the narcissist differently. If you are familiar with dialectical behavioral therapy, or DBT, there is a skill that is taught in DBT called opposite action. What opposite action is intentionally choosing to act on the opposite emotion that you're feeling. So when you're really angry and, you know, someone pulled out in front of you in traffic and you get really mad and you want to beep your horn and you know, really react to that because they really upset you, it's taking a step back and choosing to be calm and relaxed. You know, the principle behind this idea is that it rewires your brain over time to react more calmly. And this principle is the same principle that exists with gray rock. So we can think of gray rocking a narcissist as the opposite action of giving them the emotional attention that they're craving. And this is really the purpose of gray rock. And the benefit of gray rock is to instill that behavioral change, okay? So opposite action, gray rocking, is the opposite action of giving a narcissist that emotional reaction that they're looking for. Because they want you to get loud and angry, and when you don't get loud and angry, you're training yourself to respond more calmly to the situation. You, over time, are going to be less emotionally invested in that situation. Behavior and emotions are connected to each other. And this is the behavioral side of really trying to take back your control over it. Now, if we do this gray rocking in this way, so the opposite action of what you really kind of ultimately want to do, like you want to tell the narcissist off, but we're not going to do that, we're going to gray rock instead. If we do that in order to help build disconnection, and we apply it with the third thing I'm going to talk about, the results are, I mean, this is it, guys. This is the answer. Both of these things really need to be done together at the same time. One side we're addressing the behavior, on the other side we're addressing the emotions, okay? They're connected. So we're going to gray rock in order to build emotional distance. At the same time, we're going to work on our own core wounds, okay? We're going to do the inner work that we need to do in order to release ourselves from why the things a narcissist is telling us are so upsetting. Narcissists are masters at finding the weak points in their victims. Absolute masters at it. They know all of your weak spots, and they aim for the floor. I think I said that in another one of my videos. They aim for the floor. It's not the knees, not even the ankles. They just want to rip the whole floor out from under you. And especially if you've been like in a long-term relationship with narcissists, or this is your parent or someone that really knows you well, they know exactly what your weaknesses are. It's perfect exploitation for them. They know exactly what they need to exploit. So we need to work on these issues. We need to work on the issues that are being exploited and really explore on why they're having such a profound impact on you, why they're so upsetting and bothersome to you. And when we can cognitively and logically know what the narcissist is doing, that's where that education component that I talked about comes in, knowing cognitively, our emotions are a whole new ballgame. We can know something logically, yet we can still have emotions that, you know, are really hard to handle. Like you know what a narcissistic rage looks like, and you know it has nothing to do with you. It still hurts. And while some attacks, you know, can roll off our shoulders because you know that they don't really hold any merit or truth, the narcissist is going to use the worst things against you. They really, really are. So how can we handle that? So the first step is to identify what the wound is. What is the narcissist saying to you that is making you have like a really, really negative reaction? And this negative reaction, it's good to familiarize yourself with what they look like. So when you're hearing the attack from the narcissist, what's going on for you? Do you want to burst out into tears? Do you want to yell and scream back? Do you feel something physically? Like, do you feel like just a pit in your stomach? I mean, if you've had that happen before, I know I have a lot, like, you know what that's like you just feel this, like, you just, you know, this defeat feeling almost, just like sick feeling. And I apologize that the audio is off a little bit because it just literally started downpouring outside, so stay with me. So when we familiarize ourselves with both of our, psychological indicators that, something that was said was not okay or done is not okay, and then also like our physical indicators, then we kind of know, okay, this is a sensitive spot for me. Like, I'm not having a good reaction to this. This is making me feel angry. It's making me feel sad. It's making me feel shame and guilt. It's making me feel sick, anxious, depressed, so on and so forth. Whatever your emotional or physical reactions are to the narcissistic attack, okay? So we're talking about narcissist and rage here. You're gonna pull out your journal. You're gonna write it down. So whatever it is, the narcissist said I was lazy, the narcissist said I was fat, whatever it was, you're going to write that down. So once we identify what the core wound is by paying attention to how we're reacting to things being said to us, I want you to pull out your journal and I want you to write it down. And then I want you to make a list of all of the emotions that are associated with that. Okay, so let's say the narcissist said that, you're worthless, okay? And this is invoking feelings of shame, it's invoking feelings of guilt, hopelessness. All of those emotions, whatever ones you're experiencing, write those down. So this is really working on identifying the emotions that we're associating with this core wound. We are leaning into that. We're not pushing it away. We're not denying. We're writing down honestly like how we're feeling when we hear whatever statement, you're worthless. Whatever comes to mind with that. We're not going to try to shut that down or numb that out. We're actually going to identify and lean into the feelings, meaning that we are going to accept that this is how this statement is making us feel. So I think right now is probably the best time for me to walk you through a real example of what all three of these things look like. Okay, so the example I'm going to use, which I think is a really common one for a lot of people that are in a co-parenting situation with a narcissist, I'm going to use the example of you're a terrible parent, okay? All right, so it looks like this. Let's say you take your child back to the narcissistic parent's house and it's the middle of winter time and you forgot their snow pants. Very quickly after you drop the child off, you either get a phone call or a text from the narcissistic parent. Oh my gosh, you're such a terrible parent. How could you forget their snow pants? It is freezing outside. It's the middle of winter. You're so dumb. A good parent wouldn't have forgotten this. You're such a crappy parent, and on and on and on. If you've seen a narcissistic rage, exactly what I'm talking about. It's not pretty. So your gut behavioral reaction is going to be to react to this. It might be by getting angry with them, throwing some insults back at them, but maybe about their parenting failures. Getting defensive, defending yourself. And that's what you want to do when someone's coming after you like this, right? So this is when we're going to use that gray rock method. We are going to say something along the lines of, okay, I will drop those off in the morning, or I will drop those off whenever you're able to. Factual and to the point, non-emotional response. This is the problem and this is going to be the solution. We're not going to give in to that defensiveness. We're not going to give in to the offensiveness, whichever one you're experiencing. We're not going to draw this into that back and forth game. And so one of your core beliefs or core wounds is that you are not a good parent. I think this is something that, a lot of parents experience. And when it's reinforced by someone, especially a narcissist, this can become a really, really big soft spot. So you're going to go get your journal and we're going to identify the core belief as that I'm not a good enough parent or I'm a bad parent. And we're going to write down all of the emotions that we associate with that core belief. Shame, guilt, anxiety, fear, unworthiness, all of those emotions, we're going to write them down, we're going to identify them, we're going to accept that they are present. We have this core wound and these are the emotions that are present along with this core wound. So we're going to make two columns, evidence for and evidence against, and then we're going to write down all the evidence that we have to support this belief and then all of the evidence that we have that doesn't support this belief. So the evidence for might be, okay, we forgot my child's snow pants to go along to the other parent's house. The narcissist said that I am. The evidence for column, we're going to think about things that don't support this core belief. So, my child loves me. They're excited and happy to see me. They tell me that they love me. I feed them, I clothe them, I take care of them. I take them to the doctor when they're sick. I'm involved with their school. And then we're going to sit back and we're going to read both of those lists and we're going to find out what the verdict is at the end of the day. With some of those evidence for, we really want to make sure that they're factual things, okay? So we're not trying to kind of muddle it with emotions and how we're feeling, because sometimes people, especially when they struggle with things like depression or anxiety, Well, I just feel like I am. Okay, well, what does that mean exactly? When we're kind of restructuring these core beliefs, we really do want to stick to evidence. We want to stick to facts. An evidence for column, we might really be able to also neutralize some of those things too, so make it so they're not as impactful. So yeah, you forgot your son's snow pants. That happens. Okay, there's no such thing as a perfect parent. Really, this isn't really any reflection of you as a parent. It's a reflection that you're a human being and you forgot to send something along. I don't know any parents in a co-parent situation that haven't done this before. Do you? The narcissist said I am. Well, I have that education about narcissists. I know that they're really, really big into projection, and I know that they're really looking for ways to hurt me because they want to elicit emotional supply. And they know that one of my weaknesses is my reflection or judgments on my parenting. So we just did it. We just neutralized those two statements right there. So that's just one example. This really can be applied to any examples that you have personally. I know that everyone's situation is different and that it can, everyone's weak points are different. But really this is a general outline of kind of what you want to do to really be able to conceptualize these behaviors of a narcissist. The ultimate goal of this, of everything I just explained with the gray rocking and the journaling, is really to cause that emotional disconnection over time. And this does need to be practiced over time. It needs to be consistent because we're really trying to implement long-lasting changes. Is to become indifferent to the attacks from a narcissist. Because when the narcissist doesn't have that emotional hold over us, that's been broken, right? So we are disconnected from the thoughts and the opinions of a narcissist. That is when we get our power back. That is when we know the things they're doing and saying, they hold no water, they're not true, they're no reflection of who you are, you aren't causing it. And at that point, it really can't impact you anymore. I know indifference is usually spoken about in a negative light, but when it comes to dealing with a narcissist and healing from narcissistic abuse, getting to be indifferent with the narcissist is actually the goal, okay? When we are indifferent, when we are disconnected emotionally, that is when you know you're healing. And of course, this isn't perfect, trauma is complicated. It doesn't necessarily mean that you won't ever struggle with things that, you hear from the narcissist. You very, very still might have reactions. If you see them in public, even if it's been years later, you might still have a reaction to that. Trauma, the body keeps the score when it comes to trauma. But I can guarantee that if you regularly practice the things that I talked about in this video, over time you'll notice a huge, huge difference in your level of empowerment, your confidence, and your healing. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing to my channel. I'd love to see you in future videos. And I will see you in the next one.